Many of us secretly believe that we are not good enough for our jobs. And that's one of the most common scenarios for imposter syndrome. There are a few consequences. The most direct and obvious one is that we fail to portray the kind of confidence that we wanted, and that affects how we influence others and influence the key stakeholders and also the people who give us performance reviews and also decide our promotion. And it has a real impact on how we show up at work as well. So we would tend not to take up so much responsibility, especially related to decision making. And because we don't feel adequate enough for that. And we can also avoid taking risk, because risk means that I may fail and then people see that I'm fake and I'm inadequate. So again, definitely avoiding those kind of possibilities. But once we avoid responsibility and risk, that means we can miss opportunities to shine and to make a difference at work. And that also is a big issue if you are in leadership role and you want the visibility from senior management and also stakeholders. So today, let's take a look at the relationship competence and also confidence, because the real topic here is how to show up with confidence in the domain of no competence. In most of my work, I challenge a lot on how the client perceives the competence, because that self-assessment, even they themselves agree that it's not accurate and it's very biased, right? And also the definition of competence is very subjective, and people tend to just look at past experience and say, I haven't done certain things before. Or they talk about things about how they see themselves and they say, I'm not the kind of person to operate in this capacity. But they fail to look at things such as future potential and also the motivation to bridge the gaps along the way, etc. But today, I don't want to challenge your assessment or your competency. So, dear audience, I'm just saying, okay, now you have decided that you are competent in some areas at work and you are not competent in some other areas. And I go with your assessment here, and we would work with this. And one thing people don't realize is that there are actually a lot of mixed feelings about having confidence in where they're not competent or they're not an expert in. So one example is when I ask others to describe to me how do they view those people who, they will be like, oh, I really see someone, there are people who's able to do that when they are not sure of something, they are not an expert in something, and they still show up like an expert. And then they will be like, I really envy them. What a skill. How come they are able to be so confident? And I'm not like that. I can only be confident in the domains I'm sure about. And at the same time, they actually also dismiss those people by saying, sometimes I can't be like them. I think they are bluffers. They actually don't know what they're talking about. They don't deliver what they say, and what they say is not true, deviate from the truth. All those negative things are in this domain as well. Whereas when we flip that back, how we see ourselves, when we dismiss that, when we will see ourselves as someone honest, someone who knows what I'm talking about, someone who would deliver what I say. So it's almost as if that confidence has become a promise of I know my stuff, a promise of what I'm saying is true. And here, that's why the concept has been changed, because the real confidence you want to project or you want to have, it's just a comfort. You are not wanting to give other people a promise. You are just wanting to have a comfort in whatever you know and whatever you don't know, and in yourself and in the topic that you are talking about. So confidence is comfort. But discomfort sometimes gets perceived or received by others as a kind of a signature, an endorsement, or a promise. It's like I confidently tell you all these things I feel good about. And then when people find out that it's not true, then they may feel a bit cheated. But did I promise that? I'm just showing that I'm comfortable in what I'm talking about. So now I'm talking about this topic. Am I a psychologist? Did I do research on all this? I didn't, right? And in fact, most people talking about these topics are not. But how is it that people like us talk about it with that confidence? Because for me, it's just a comfort that I have talked with many people, worked with many people on this topic, and there's some learning, some insight, some common observations that I want to share, right? And I have a reasonable comfort in all these things that I want to share with you. And I also have taken a risk that some of what I'm saying is may be viewed as not real. And that comes back to then what gives me this comfort? How did I decide to have this comfort to come out to talk about things I'm not an expert in? It is a decision. It is a decision to take comfort in something I'm not an expert in. It may sound a bit strange, but you see, you are anyway making a choice and a decision between being confident and not being confident when it comes to these things that you don't know very well. So what I'm inviting you here is, can you choose comfort and that confidence with a courage? To be able to feel comfort in the domain where we're not comfortable in requires courage, and a more common term is a leap of faith. And this morning when I was thinking about this, at the times I was even not early this morning, I was like, do I actually need to record this video? Should I just hide between an article? And then I was like, okay, there is a moment where I don't feel that comfort or the confidence in the value of this video, whether anyone would receive the message and anyone will find it useful. And then suddenly I remember this quote that is in my hand. So this is a coaster from my INSEAD days where some of my fellow classmates actually shared with others. And this basically saying is the willing suspension of disbelief for the moment which constitutes poetic faith. So it's a quote by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Sorry, I don't even pronounce his name well. But what is striking me, and I've been keeping this on my table, is this willing suspension of disbelief. Because if I do not suspend my question, my disbelief in the value of this video, you are not going to see it here. And because if I don't suspend it and go with my, discomfort and say, no, I'm only going to say things I'm very sure about, I'm not going to do anything, and that's not going to do any good to me by staying within what I'm only sure about. And I decided, since I'm anyway going to do it, since I'm anyway going to record this video, then I should go with that confidence that it's going to impact some people positively. It's going to be useful to some people. And I'm going to come out with that courage and that confidence, because that is my poetic faith.